Another big development on Friday. The House passed the Democrats' so-called Inflation Reduction Act, targeting billions of dollars for health, climate, and for trimming the federal deficit. Now the bill heads to President Biden's desk to become law. CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe is traveling with the president, who's vacationing on Kiowa Island, South Carolina. Ed, good morning.
Michelle, good morning. The Inflation Reduction Act, as you mentioned, includes about $370 billion to fight climate change, the largest ever investment by the federal government to do so. There's also new language now that makes it impossible to raise insurance premiums on about 13 million Americans who rely on the Affordable Care Act, and allows Medicare to negotiate drug prices for the first time. It's all paid for with a new minimum tax on some billion-dollar corporations that currently pay almost nothing to the U.S. government. And there's new funding for tens of thousands of new IRS agents to go after big-time tax cheats. As you mentioned, the president plans to sign this next week, formally, real quick. But they're going to hold a bigger event after Labor Day with Democrats to celebrate the passage of this bill and launch the midterm campaign season. We're going to be talking about passage of this bill, which took more than a year to negotiate among Democrats, plus passage of other legislation this summer, including the new gun control and mental health bill and other bipartisan legislation to help veterans and boost the semiconductor industry, all of it designed to suggest to voters that 2 years of Democratic control of Washington should be rewarded with at least 2 more. Whether or not that works, of course, remains to be seen.
And to that point, Ed, this was a signature piece of President Biden's agenda, but the focus of the nation seems to be on this search, this FBI search of the former president's home. So how is the White House reacting to that?
They're reacting by not reacting. We asked them, what does the president make of this? Were you aware of the raid in advance? They insist that the Justice Department did not give the White House a heads up. The president had no idea and learned about it with the rest of us. That's in keeping with a policy that's been in place since he took office. And by keeping him essentially out of the public view this week with a coincidentally timed vacation, politically they believe, look, when he lies low like this and the former president is out there in the news, making waves the way he does, that works. It worked 2 summers ago when then candidate Biden was essentially forced to campaign from his basement in Delaware, and the former president was out there doing things. And they believe now, in essence, that while he's been lying low over the last few weeks due to COVID, now due to his vacation, you will see him out there in public in the coming weeks making the case for Democrats to hold on to control of Congress.
Ed, what, if any, other political ramifications do you see coming from the news about the former president?
Well, look, it's been a great political week for the former president himself because it's led to essentially the Republican Party rallying around him. It's helped with his fundraising. It's solidified or reiterated his position at the top of the party. And some primary results this week and next week also reinforce that. For the broader Republican Party, being so closely associated with a former president that's now under investigation in this way certainly runs the political risk of causing some of these people to lose their jobs in November, especially those perhaps in closer races or in states where Donald Trump isn't as popular. If you're a conservative Republican from a deep red district, you'll stand by him as much as you need to. But for those that are in tougher races, watch to see how much distance they might put between themselves and him, just by virtue of the fact that they don't know, we don't know, where this criminal investigation is headed.
Ed, last night in Pennsylvania, Senate candidate John Fetterman returned to the campaign trail for the first time since his health scare. There's the potential for Pennsylvania to flip in the Senate. We're 86 or 87 days away from the midterms right now, depending on how you count. Are Democrats feeling more or less optimistic right now?
They're feeling more optimistic, at least in holding on to the Senate, because they see their candidates in polling in these battleground states doing better than they might have anticipated. John Fetterman's one good example of that. Pennsylvania's a state that Democrats could pick up. They see their candidates doing okay in places like Ohio, Arizona, and Georgia as well, against perhaps weaker than expected or less aggressive Republican candidates. I'd only add this. It's August. Many Americans are just getting back to school or still on vacation. They're not thinking about electoral politics the way we do. Let's check the numbers again after Labor Day into that stretch through November. Either way, this much is probably certain, guys. We live in a 50-50 country. Most of these results are going to be around 50-50. We're looking at a lot of close races across the country this year.
And as we started talking about, Ed, that string of successes on the legislative side, certainly Democrats had to at least take a little bit of positive reinforcement from. Ed, thank you.